The body runs according to precision balance, and this is often the missing link. So what I'm going to do this afternoon is I'm going to begin by going through some of the symptoms of a hormonal imbalance. Some of the symptoms of a woman having a hormonal imbalance are early periods. Do you know what normal is? 16 to 18. But so many girls today are getting their periods at the age of 9, of 10. Something's terribly wrong. And I'll be showing you that. And remember our why? Why are these things so? Job 29:16 states that the cause I knew not, I searched out. So we're going to do some searching this afternoon. Proverbs 26 verse 2 states that the curse causeless shall not come. There is a reason why young girls are getting their periods at 9 years of age, when God designed that they get their periods at 16 to 18. If a girl's getting her periods at 8, 9 years of age, what's she thinking about at 13? Something she should not be thinking about until she is marrying age. It is such a dilemma. And you can see it is one of Satan's plans to actually destroy women. And in the lecture this morning where I talked about child nutrition, I also talked about how important the woman's role is. I had a woman come to me after the meeting, and her daughter's got 2 little children, and she's been through several operations already for endometriosis, and this woman is in such pain. She's on heavy, heavy medication, and she's a young woman. And if she had heard this lecture, this is the tragedy of it, if she'd heard this lecture 10 years ago, it would be a totally different scenario today. That's the tragedy of it. God designed the body to heal itself. There is no doubt about that. And it will heal itself, little 2-letter word here, if you give it the right condition. It will heal itself. Every single person on the planet should hear this lecture. Men, women, children, teenagers. It would prevent so much suffering that we are seeing. So that's one symptom, is young girls getting their periods very early. Very painful periods, very heavy periods. That is not normal. In fact, hardly anyone knows that now because so many women suffer. Very painful breasts, also premenstrual tension. How many people, men and women, think that's normal? I've got some good news, it's not. And today I'm going to show you how you can turn that around. That's very good news. Okay, let's go into some of the more serious symptoms. Fibroids in the uterus, cysts on the ovaries, endometriosis, fibrous breast tissue, breast cancer, cervical cancer, uterine cancer, depression, heart disease. These are all symptoms of a hormonal imbalance. What about in a man? In a man, the symptoms of a hormonal imbalance are what's often called PD, penile dysfunction, inability to hold erection. Do you know the current figures are in Australia, 50% of men over the age of 40 are struggling with this one. Why? There is a reason, and I will show you that reason today. Another with man is low sperm count. Many couples are having trouble having children. And some of the reasons are in the men and some of the reasons are in the women. And it's all because of a hormonal imbalance. In a man, prostate problems. We didn't know what the word prostate meant 20 years ago. It's almost a household name today. Caused by a hormonal imbalance. And the other, which I'm not usually allowed to talk about, but I think I can talk about it here, and that's homosexuality. Too much of the female hormone can cause a man to be effeminate, and too much of the male hormone can cause a woman to be masculine. Is it true that you're not allowed to talk about this one? Usually. But I think I'm amongst Christian friends now who believe in the Bible, and we know what the Bible says about that. God loves every single soul, and he died for all. There's no doubt about that. What is it? God loves the sinner and hates the sin. And too often, man hates the sinner and loves the sin. Isn't that right? What is the character of God? Merciful, gracious, long-suffering, abundant in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands. So these are some of the symptoms of a hormonal imbalance. What I want to do this afternoon is I want to show you how these hormones are made, and then I want to show you how the monthly cycle runs, and then I'm going to show you what throws the cycle out. And then I'm going to end with showing you how you can bring the balance back. That is the good news. So the hormones, the sex hormones in the human body are made from cholesterol. We've already looked at yesterday what an important lipid this is. Do you know that his name's Malcolm Kendrick, and he's a British cardiologist. He said for the first time, normal levels of a normal vital body substance is called a disease. Got that? What's he referring to? He's referring to cholesterol. And do you remember what I said too, that the symptoms, or the side effects I should say, of cholesterol lowering medication is muscle wasting, dementia, Alzheimer's, memory loss. Is anyone interested? And they've just added another one, it's breast cancer. You see, when someone doesn't have enough cholesterol, it's going to be disruptive to their hormones. From cholesterol, the body makes a hormone called pregnenolone. And from pregnenolone, the body makes another hormone, and this is a key hormone, it's a very important hormone, it's called progesterone. Because from progesterone, the body makes estrogen, often called the female hormone. From progesterone, the body makes testosterone, often called the male hormone. Though the fact is, men and women both have testosterone, both have estrogen, it's just in different amounts. But also from progesterone, the body makes the hormones for your, basically stress, your adrenal hormones. And that is why one of the symptoms of a hormonal imbalance is depression, one of the contributing factors, because if you don't have enough of these hormones, your stress hormones cannot be made. So let me introduce you to the players in the monthly cycle. I'm going to explain it like a dance, because it is like a dance. Different players come onto the stage at different times of the month. So progesterone is going to be wearing a green dress. So as we go through the dance, you can recognize progesterone by the green. And progesterone's nickname in the body is happy hormone. What's the old saying? Happy wife, happy life? Again, pointing to what an important role women play in the home. The other hormone in the dance is estrogen. And estrogen is going to be wearing an orange dress. I haven't got red. I hope you can see that orange. And estrogen's role in the body is that of a cell proliferator. Now, as I go through this illustration this afternoon, it's important to understand the role that these hormones have in the body, because when you understand that, you understand why what's happening is happening. Proverbs 14 verse 6 states that knowledge is easy to him that understanding. So my aim this afternoon is to give you an understanding of the hormones, their role, and the part they play in our lives. So let's go to the monthly cycle, where I will explain it like a dance. And there are 28 days. So this is day 1, this is day 7, 14, 21, 28. Day 1 of the monthly cycle is the day that a woman begins to menstruate. And day 1 of the cycle, progesterone levels are low. So progesterone's backstage. Day 1 of the monthly cycle, estrogen levels are low. Backstage also. But by day 7, estrogen levels are rising. And by day 11, estrogen is the star player in the dance. What effect does this have on the body when estrogen is the star player? Let's go to the stage where the dance is played out, which is the reproductive organs of a woman's body. Here is the uterus, this is the cervix, this is the birth canal, these are the fallopian tubes. You thought I was drawing a flower, didn't you? I am. These are the ovaries. Now, what effect does estrogen have on this stage? Estrogen causes massive cell growth, remember, cell proliferator, in the lining of the uterus, causing the blood nest once again to be developed. My children grew up in the bush. You'd probably call it the woods, yeah? But our bush is full of gum trees. And my children grew up on like a farm. And I taught my children from a young age, and this is a very simple illustration, mother has a blood nest in her, and every month the blood nest comes away. But if father puts a little seed in that nest, that's where a little baby can grow. Can you see what a simple illustration it is? So there's no secrecy about it. It's a simple illustration. So that's how my children grew up. It wasn't discussed every day, but every now and if questions arose, then that was the simple illustration. And I remember looking out the window one day and seeing father duck on top of mother duck. Have you ever seen that? He pecks the top back of her head. He's not very nice to her. And my little boy, Will, was 4. He ran over, pushed father duck off mother duck, picked up mother duck and rescued her. It's a great way for children to grow up. And I think I told you the other day that we called adult chickens chooks. Have you heard that term? Chooks. And we call the babies chickens, but the adult is a chook and the father is a rooster. So I remember girlfriend was minding my little boys once, and I think Peter was about 8, William was 6. While I did the shopping, it's when I was a single mother, I came back and she said, Peter gave my children sex education classes today. Oh, I cringed. I thought, oh dear, what's he done? She said, yes, we've told our children when mother and father are in bed and kiss, then that's when a baby comes. And Peter said to them, chooks don't kiss. That was the sex education class. I was a little relieved. So what happens in the body when estrogen levels are high? Estrogen is the main player in the dance of the hormones. Estrogen, with its cell proliferator action, is causing massive cell growth in the lining of the uterus. Estrogen is also causing massive cell growth in the ovaries, causing an egg to develop. Estrogen also causes a form of lubricant to be released in the birth canal. By day 14, a fully developed egg bursts forth from the ovaries. And the little filaments on the end of the fallopian tube pull the egg up, and the fallopian tubes are ever moving like this, causing the egg to move up, up. Now that hole where the egg bursts forth develops a blister, and that blister is called corpus luteum. Now corpus luteum is very important because corpus luteum is the main site of progesterone production in a woman's body. Can you see the importance of a woman ovulating every month? And of course, ovulation is the release of the egg, because when the egg's released, corpus luteum develops, and that maintains progesterone levels, happy hormone, and progesterone helps to balance all the other hormones. So by day 14, progesterone levels rise. Progesterone is now the star player in the dance. At this time, estrogen's given the message. Estrogen can go backstage. No need for estrogen. We have our lubricant, our blood nest, and our egg. What effect does progesterone have at this time of the month? Progesterone has a ripening effect on the lining of the uterus. I liken progesterone to the plasterers and the painters, putting the finishing touches on the lining of the uterus. Progesterone also heightens a woman's mood at this time of the month, being happy hormone, to the point of increasing her sexual desire at this time of the month. In fact, I have read some reports where the husband says that his wife has a certain scent around her at this time of the month, which makes her very attractive to him at this time of the month. But progesterone has another effect. and that is on the cervix. Let me magnify the cervix and show you the effect of progesterone on the cervix. The cervix is like the little doorway from the birth canal into the uterus, and there are two lips there with a mucus plug. Under the effect of progesterone, the mucus increases, but the mucus plug goes. The lips come up a little bit tighter, and progesterone causes a special form of lubricant to be released around the cervix, and that lubricant is designed specifically to facilitate the entry of sperm up into the uterus. So you can see the stage is set for the entry of man. Did you know that between 200 and 500 million sperm are released with one ejaculation? Isn't that phenomenal? And you can see why God made it so, because sometimes half of it comes straight back out. So that means we're only left with half. And if it hits this cervix, very difficult to gain entry. But if the sperm hit this cervix, this lubricant literally grabs the sperm and accelerates it up into the uterus. And it's got a long journey, long way to go. And some of the sperm go down the wrong road. There's no road map. Some of the sperm go down the right road, and aha, they've found their prize, which is the egg. I saw a photograph one day at a seminar of 15 sperm all trying to gain entry into one egg, but only one does. Sometimes two, and then that's when the twins share the placenta. Did you know that within 7 days of the sperm gaining entry into the egg, you've got a division to the first 2 cells of a new human being? And those first 2 cells have the DNA of a new human being. And that DNA never has been, never will be again. You know, there's a lot of discussion about when life begins. When does life begin, ladies and gentlemen? Within 7 days, yep. Oh, we might be surprised how many little ones are in heaven that were hardly even acknowledged to be so. What a miracle that you and I are here when you think of everything that has to take place for the conception of a new human being. Every 7 days, there is another division. And the reason why it takes that long is because we can't let that little union get too big up here. It's got to nestle down here. And at a certain time in the month, didn't you love that presentation who were here at 6:30 this morning? In his time, his perfect time. Do you know, at a perfect time, the cells that line the uterus relax, and this little union has something like, do you have Oki straps? They're like elastic things with hook on it, and you can make things go down on trailers, something like that. It throws it out, anchors it, and it actually pulls it right into the lining of the uterine wall. Phenomenal what science knows now about the inside working of the human body. What happens with conception? With conception, progesterone levels soar. In fact, they soar 200%. So if I say I was pregnant or breastfeeding for 14 years and someone says, you poor thing, I say, oh, no, it was a wonderful time. My progesterone levels were very high. And don't we often say when a woman's pregnant, she's just blossoming? What if she's not blossoming? What would that indicate? It would indicate she is lacking progesterone, and I'm going to show you why that happens. Lack of progesterone is the cause of postnatal depression. Can it be that simple? Now, what progesterone does is it binds the molecules of the fetus to the lining of the uterus. So if a woman's having continual miscarriages, it's an indication she's lacking progesterone. Could it be that simple? It is. And what we're going to look at in a minute is what's causing the imbalance. Now, let's say conception does not take place. Then by day 26, progesterone levels drop. And by day 26, estrogen levels drop. And when both of those levels drop, the blood supply to the uterus is cut. And when the blood supply to the uterus is cut, then the blood nest comes away, and we are once again back at day 1 of the monthly cycle. That's what the monthly cycle should look like. Unfortunately, it does not look like that with many women. But before I show you why, let me first of all tell you something about sperm. Sperm is an alien to a woman's body, and every time sperm enters her, her immune system rises to attack. But when sperm goes through the prostate gland of a man, it takes on an immune suppressant property. So when woman's immune system rises to attack, the immune suppressant property of sperm knocks back her immune system and sperm gets through. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. But something amazing about the human body is cell memory. And woman's body has memory. And every time her husband's sperm enters her, she rises to attack, and then she sees husband and says, "Oh, it's husband, just stand back." And we let the sperm through. The beauty of cell memory. But you can imagine how dangerous it is for a woman to have multiple partners. It can be very damaging to her immune system. You can imagine how damaging it is in the case of homosexuality. Sperm is going into an area where it should never be. You see, the vaginal wall in a woman's body is tough and it can take a beating. But the colon wall is delicate and it cannot. And if you were to trace the illnesses that homosexuals come down with, you can just about link them all to their sexual habits. That is an important physiological reason, again, to show why God never meant for this to happen. Now, what happens in a pap smear? If a woman has a pap smear, it is a little scraping taken off her cervix to test for abnormal cells. Let's say she has a pap smear. That night, her immune system is quickly going to repair that wound, but she's intimate with her husband that night. Her immune system is busily repairing the little scrape, and sperm enters. Her immune system has to stand back in the presence of sperm. Now, let's say this woman is intimate before she goes to sleep, so the sperm lays there all night. Her immune system can't go back on the job. Not until in the morning, gravity causes the sperm to come away. Let's say she's a very sexually active woman, and this is happening 2 nights out of 3. Let's go in 6 months' time, she has another pap smear. They happen to take a scraping on the same spot. What's the results? Abnormal cells. What caused the abnormal cells? The first pap smear that was never allowed to heal. Ooh. A woman should be told after a pap smear not to have sex for 4 weeks. Would it take 4 weeks? Not in a healthy woman. But you know, there are some women that don't drink enough water, they go to bed too late, they're living on fast food, they never exercise, they're living on coffee, they have alcohol every night. It would take 4 weeks in that woman. But I'm sure there are none here like that. In a healthy woman, it would probably only take 10 days. One woman said, "My husband can't wait 4 weeks." I said, "Well, your husband needs to master the art of withdrawal, or he needs to wear a condom." And there are condoms today. My daughter tells me, new technology, they're very thin. You hardly know they're there. But the sperm must not enter until that wound is healed. So what is causing the imbalance? Let's make a list of the causative factors. Number 1, 1957, the first contraceptive pill was introduced to women. 1960s, it's called the sexual revolution. Women wanted to be able to have sex without falling pregnant. But men and women have, are, and will continue to pay a very high price for this so-called sexual freedom. What is the pill? The pharmaceutical companies grow acres and acres of Mexican wild yam. Now, Mexican wild yam contains a plant chemical in it called diosgenin. And in a laboratory, diosgenin can be converted to progesterone. It's called progesterone because it has an identical molecular structure to the progesterone that our body makes. But the pharmaceutical company cannot patent that. They can only patent something they create, something new. So they add a few more atoms in one area and come up with a synthetic estrogen. They add a few more atoms in another area and come up with a synthetic progesterone. They call it progestin or progestone. These synthetic hormones are in the pill. And where they're fed into the biochemical pathway that your body uses to make its own hormones, it causes a disruption. And the body thinks, what's happening? Must be pregnant. So the body stops releasing the egg. So the woman doesn't fall pregnant. For 3 weeks, the woman takes the pill, and for 1 week, she takes a sugar pill. When she goes to the sugar pill, the body goes, what's going on now? And it has a token bleed. And then a week later, the pill comes back. What's happening? Must be pregnant. Stop releasing the egg. Can you see what's happening? But what I want to show you is what's happening week after week, after month, after year on the pill. So here's progesterone, key hormone. Here's estrogen. I like an estrogen to water and fire. Good slave, bad master. Month after month on the pill, no ovulation, no corpus luteum. So where's progesterone going? Month after month on the pill with its synthetic estrogen, where's estrogen going? It's going up. And we've got a problem, sadly too common today, which is estrogen dominance, progesterone deficiency. Good slave, bad master is now the master. And there's several proverbs about that, isn't it? Oh, it's a terrible thing when the slave becomes the master. What does the cycle look like now? Estrogen's up here with its strong cell proliferator action, causing fibroids to develop in the uterus, causing cysts to develop on the ovaries, causing lumps to develop in the breasts, causing endometriosis. You see, the lining of the uterus is called endometrium. And when there's too much estrogen, too much endometrium is made. And so now the endometrium starts to wander all through the abdominal wall. And when the woman has her monthly periods and the blood nest comes away, these little pockets of endometrium have nowhere to go. They just bleed into the tissues, and that causes terrible pain. I had a 25-year-old girl come to me and she said, I have endometriosis. I went to the doctor. He said, you'll be all right when you go through menopause. 25 more years of suffering? Or the other option is to have them diathermied out or to be opened up and scraped. But if you don't turn the tap off, you're still going to be mopping up in the other corner. If you don't find the cause, you will never have a cure. I've got some good news. I've seen girls turn their endometriosis around. Isn't that good news? So estrogen, with its strong cell proliferator action, is contributing to breast cancer, uterine cancer. In fact, in Australia, the official statement from the Cancer Foundation is, estrogen is a known human carcinogen. And you can see why, because of its cell proliferator action. It has a role. It's what causes the skinny, scrawny young girl to develop into a beautiful, shapely woman, and no one's complaining about that. But if estrogen remains high, the beautiful, shapely woman gets totally out of shape. In fact, there's a term for it. It's called estrogen belly. Because where does estrogen, with its cell proliferator action, cause the excess tissues to be developed? In the areas where the estrogen receptor sites, not in the ankles or the wrists, the torso. Where's progesterone? Way down here. How does the woman feel? Not happy. How does she feel the week before her periods? Watch out, she'll bite your head off. I said to one woman, do you get premenstrual tension? She said, no, I just hate my husband for a week every month. She's got it. How many women think that's normal? And by the way, how many men think it's normal? It is not. Isn't that good news? I'm going to show you how you can turn it around. So who was introduced to the pill? The baby boomers. How old are the baby boomers now? They're in their 60s. How are they faring with menopause? Hot flushes. What's hot flushes? Too much estrogen. Estrogen is a capillary dilator, causes the blood to rush to the skin. The husband knows it because in the middle of the night all the blankets get thrown off and 10 minutes later they get all pulled back on again. The woman has gained weight, which she hates. She has no desire for sex. And when she has sex, it's painful. She has no lubricant. She's depressed. She is of all women most miserable. She goes to the doctor. What does he put her on? Hormone replacement therapy, more synthetic hormones. More synthetic hormones. The flushes stop. Why? Body thinks it's pregnant. So it puts all of its energies into the breasts and the uterus and the ovaries. 6 years later, a lump develops on her breast. She goes to the doctor, has it tested, she's got breast cancer. Doctor takes her off HRT immediately. Why? He knows. So you say to the doctor, why do you do that? He said, well, she was suffering and it brought her relief. That is true. And not every woman gets breast cancer. That is true. I don't know about you, but I'm not interested in playing Russian roulette with my life. Do you know, some of my best friends are doctors. There are some excellent doctors. I'm not anti-doctor. There are some good plumbers, not so good plumbers. There are some good painters, not so good painters. Unfortunately, because the pharmaceutical companies cannot patent this basically is not taught or pushed in medicine. What about the children of the women who were on the pill before they fell pregnant? That's the women who are dying of breast cancer at 35. And how many do you hear? This is the generation that are having so much trouble falling pregnant. This is the young men with penile dysfunction. These are the young women with endometriosis. You see it? They're the sons and daughters of the baby boomers. There's more. Something else that causes a disruption of the hormones is plastics. Now, I think plastics is handy stuff, but be very mindful of your exposure. Try to have stainless steel drink bottles. Try to never pour hot soup into a plastic takeaway container. Try and have it in glass, stainless steel, because when you heat plastic, it increases what's called nonylphenols. Now let me show you why this is applicable right now. Estrogen has a phenyl ring in its molecular structure, and that phenyl ring opens the door to let the estrogen into the estrogen receptor site on the cell. A nonylphenol is something they add to plastics today to make them soft. I remember when I was young, plastic was always brittle, but you see, you can easily push this plastic in. Now, if I'm thirsty right now, I'm going to drink this water. It's not the odd day you might drink out of a plastic bottle. It's really what you drink out of every day that matters. And those plastic bottles in a hot car, it's the heating that releases more of the nonylphenols. You've also got bisphenol A. And bisphenol A is the plastic lining many tins. Now, I don't use a lot of tins. Occasionally I might. Remember, not the odd day you do it, not the odd day you don't. In Steps to Christ, it says it's not the odd day you do it or the odd day you don't that determines character. It's your habitual daily tendency. But you can apply that principle to plastics, to everything in your life. So if I'm travelling and I'm thirsty, I'll buy a bottle of water. But as a rule, I usually drink out of glass or metal. In fact, I think it's very, very important to be mindful of the children. You have a look at children today. Often their milk bottle is plastic, heated up in a microwave, altered cow's milk. You've also got them in these plastic nappies. My daughter, and I don't know if you can buy them here, but I'm sure you can buy some sort of brand. But in Australia, we can get Natty disposable nappies. Do you call them diapers? Yeah? Disposable diapers. I'll use your language. And they're Swiss and they're made out of cornstarch. So it's just a matter of reading your labels. You would be able to get some diapers that are made out of starch. So if someone has a baby, buy them a couple of packets of biodegradable cornstarch diapers, buy them a little stainless steel milk bottle and with a rubber teat, and buy them a wooden rattle. How many babies are sucking on plastic rattles all the time? And everything a baby gets, what do? Put it straight in their mouth. So very mindful of what babies are sucking on. We think that we've got hormonal imbalances today. You just wait 10 years when this generation that has such an increase in exposure to plastics and the effects there. Let me show you 3 different types of estrogens. So these are 3 cells, and these are 3 estrogen receptor sites. Now this one here is xenoestrogens. Xenoestrogens are the estrogens that come from a breakdown of plastic, herbicide, insecticides, chemicals. All of them break down to your xenoestrogens or estrogen mimickers. How big are they? They are 20,000 times stronger than human estrogen. So how big are they? They're huge. What about human estrogens? Just sits like this. And human estrogen is 20,000 times stronger than plant. How big is plant? It's just a tiny little slip of a thing that just slips into the receptor site like that. Now, Psalm 104 verse 14, the Bible says God gave herbs for the service of man. When this herb, and where do you get plant estrogens? Soy, must be organic though, red clovers, lots of greens. They come in and they knock. Excuse me, can I come in? Cell says, no, we've got enough estrogen. So the herb sits at the door. And the beauty of that is, this guy can't get in there. Now, you may have heard of tamoxifen. A lot of women who have had breast cancer are put on tamoxifen, which is a drug that blocks the receptor site from estrogen. No need for tamoxifen with all of its nasty side effects. Just take red clover. Red clover is very high in these plant estrogens. And if it happens to knock on the door and says, can I come in? And cell says, oh, please do, we're a little low. So can you see what the herb's doing? Remember Psalm 104 verse 14, God gave herbs for the service of man. How can I help you? Drugs just say, get out of my way, I've got a job to do and I'm coming in whether you need it or not. You see the difference? Can you see what God designs us to use? Is the herbs. So how can you turn this around? Let's make a list. Number 1, eliminate. If you don't turn the tap off, you're going to be still mopping up in the other corner. Eliminate the pill. Eliminate HRT. Well, how are we going to stop having babies popping up everywhere? Well, sex is 2-part and contraception should be 2-part. I believe it's the woman's role to know when she is ovulating and when she is not ovulating. And her body will give her 3 signs. One sign is her temperature will change. So what a young woman can do, she takes her temperature before she gets out of bed in the morning and she monitors it, she charts it. And she will find that her temperature will do this, then it'll drop, go up onto a higher plane, and that is her sign that she has begun to ovulate. And most women will ovulate around day 13, 14 or 15, somewhere around here. It just allows her to define it. And as the months go by, she will start to see that her body has certain patterns. The second sign is that her vaginal mucus changes. So when estrogen's high, her vaginal mucus won't be as profuse, it'll be thick and a white colour. But when progesterone is high, the mucus is a lot more prolific and it's clear and stringy. And day, after week, after month, she will start to see the pattern. The third sign is that her cervix changes. It's a matter of a woman testing her cervix once a day. Now, at first, she won't have anything to compare it with, but she does it every day, she'll start to see the changes. So those 3 signs will allow a woman to very effectively define exactly when she's ovulating. And it'll usually be within this week here. So this week she can say to her husband, I am safe. This week here she says, I'm sorry, sweetheart, I am not safe. And then the man's role is to either master the art of withdrawal or to use a condom. And then this week here she says, I am safe. That is called natural birth control. And it is very effective. My daughter Jessica and her husband were married for, I think it was nearly 4 years before baby Amethyst appeared. How nice. How nice for a young couple to have a couple of years together before the little darlings appear. So eliminate the pill, eliminate HRT. I have seen many women very successfully stop their hormone replacement therapy. Eliminate the plastics. I think it's impossible to eliminate it. When I finish this picture, I'll probably drink that water. Remember, not the odd day you do it or the odd day you don't. But there are other areas be very mindful of. Make sure the little children have your little stainless steel bottles. You can get little 8-ounce ones which are light and easy for them to carry. Be very careful of the clothes you're wearing. Polyester, acrylic and nylon are plastic fabrics. Whereas your natural fabrics like silk and cotton and wool, but let me give you a few that have been made out of wood pulp. Viscose, rayon, tencel and modal, M-O-D-A-L. I've even got viscose and modal stockings. I was very cold this morning, so I wore my stockings, and they were viscose stockings. If you search around, you can get these natural fibres. You can imagine, especially if you're exercising and you have nylon and polyester on, you start to get hot, your pores open, and your skin can start to absorb those plastic fibres. Start to ensure that your food is stored in either glass or stainless steel. And if everything's stored in plastic in your home at the moment, do not fear. Remember Acts 17:30, God winks at our ignorance, you didn't know, but little by little by little, start to replace it. I think you call them thrift stores, yeah? We call them St. Vinny's, St. Vincent de Paul. They're like our thrift stores. Often, they've got boxes of glass jars at the back for 20 cents each or something. So start to be mindful of your exposure to plastic. Herbicides, insecticides, pesticides, go organic as much as possible. Did you see the strawberry shop out there? The guy selling strawberries? He just told me they're all organic. So search out your organic foods, grow as much as you can, and in the winter time, grow your sprouts in the kitchen. That's an easy way to get your greens in the winter. And get the chemicals out of your homes. So clean your bathroom with sodium bicarbonate and vinegar. That's a good use for vinegar. Elbow grease, you've heard of elbow grease, scrubbing brush. Use what our grandmothers used to clean the bathroom. Get the bleaches and the poisons out of your laundry, out of your kitchens. So that's turning the tap off. Number 2, your liver has the ability to detoxify you from environmental poisons, particularly estrogen. And it'll take estrogen down one of 2 pathways. One pathway is the hydroxy-16 pathway. The other pathway is the hydroxy-2 pathway. Stay with me, I'm going to make it simple. Now, if estrogen is taken down the hydroxy-2 pathway, it's out. If it comes down the hydroxy-16 pathway, it comes back in 100 times more toxic. So we don't want, we'll call it highway. We don't want highway 16, we want highway 2. So I'm going to list a few herbs a few foods now that stimulate highway 2 and inhibit highway 16. And one is the cabbage family. The cabbage family contain a plant chemical called indoles. And indoles are a plant chemical that encourage highway 2, inhibit highway 16. It's as simple as having something from the cabbage family every day. Cabbage one day, broccoli another, cauliflower, bok choy, Brussels sprouts, kale. Vitamin B, vitamin B6, B9 and B12. These 3 B vitamins specifically stimulate highway 2 and inhibit highway 16. Now initially, if a woman or a man has a severe imbalance, they may need to supplement with a vitamin B supplement. But remember, the highest source of your B vitamins are your raw nuts and seeds. That's not hard, is it? So once you get the balance back, just keep your raw nuts and seeds as your maintenance for your B vitamins. And flaxseed, ground flaxseed, an excellent one to have every day. Tomorrow when I look at fats, I think it's tomorrow afternoon, I call the lecture Fantastic Fats, and we're going to be defining the fats. And I will show you the highest source of your omega-3s and 6, and flaxseed's really one of the highest sources. But the reason I'm mentioning it now is it's high in lignans. And lignans are a plant chemical that stimulate highway 2 and inhibit highway 16. Licorice, and I'm not referring to the lolly, you call it candy, yeah, licorice. I'm referring to the herb licorice, it's a root. So these things increase your liver's ability to get rid of the excess estrogen. Number 3, in Australia we sell a cream called the Anna's Wild Yam Cream. Now my daughter Emma, who lives in Baldwin, Wisconsin, she sells this cream. Now this cream, let me show you what it does. It contains diosgenin. And when you apply it to the skin, the fat cells take it up and it stimulates this pathway that your body uses to make hormones, and it boosts progesterone. And you can see progesterone is our key hormone because it balances all the other hormones, whether you be man or whether you be woman. Because it's the precursor of the estrogen, testosterone, and the adrenals. So that's how it works. Now in America, you can buy off-the-shelf progesterone cream. You can't do that in Australia. But every year when I come to America, I meet women who've been on the progesterone cream and it's not doing it anymore. Because if you keep putting something into the body that the body makes, it gets lazy. Now for some women who've just found out they've got breast cancer, they're getting hot flushes every 10 minutes, the progesterone cream can certainly give them a kickstart. But only for about 4 months. Then they need to go over to the Anna's Wild Yam Cream, which is superior because it stimulates your body to make its own progesterone. You see that? Now for a woman, she applies it every morning, every night. And we carefully tested it up to the first knuckle finger dip. Not a scoop, but finger dip, let the excess fall up to first knuckle. You apply it to the inside of the arms first night, chest another time, abdomen another time, inside of thighs another time. So you alternate the sites. This keeps the body reactive. And a woman does it every morning, every night, for 3 weeks a month. So she will do it for the 3 weeks that progesterone is high. So the easiest way to remember it is a woman just stops when she's menstruating. What if a woman is not menstruating anymore? She just chooses 1 week of the month where she does not apply it. You see, women are cyclic, and this keeps the cycle. How long would a woman be on it for? She would be on it for at least 1 year. One lady said to me, I tried the Anna's Wild Yam Cream and it didn't work. I said, how long did you try it for? She said, 2 months. Let me show you what's happening in 2 months. Remember, we've got the imbalance. Estrogen dominance, progesterone deficiency. After 2 months, She's about here. What do we want? We want here. Now, it could be 30, 40 years that it's been out of balance. It could be 2 or 3 generations that it's been out. The good news is it won't take 2 or 3 generations to get back. It won't take 20 to 30 years to get back, but it might take 1 or 2 years. Let us not be weary in well-doing. In due season we will reap if we faint not. Cast not away therefore thy confidence, in the which is great recompense of reward. Ye have need of patience. Little by little by little, as a flower grows, as a baby grows, the body gets sick. And little by little, it heals. I put a 9-year-old girl on it when I was preaching and I was teaching in the Bronx a few years ago. She had her periods at 9. I met a 90-year-old woman was on it. She was on it for osteoporosis. You see, progesterone boosts bone-building cells. I've known many women to go on it for thyroid problems. You see, high estrogen opposes thyroid function. Many women that were on the pill way back in their teens, 20s, are now in their 50s, 60s with thyroid problems. I meet many women who are in their 50s and 60s, and they talk to me privately about how they find it very difficult to have sex. And the reason is that it's very painful. And it's because of this high estrogen. It thins the walls of the vagina. So what's the remedy? There are a couple of remedies. One is the Anna's Wild Yam Cream to get the balance back. But a woman can massage that area with castor oil once a day. But there is something else that is becoming popular. It has been known in Asia. Asia, for thousands of years, they're called yoni stones. I don't know if you've heard of them. And they're made out of jade. And usually you will get 3. Now, the first yoni stone will be about this big. The second yoni stone will be about this big. And the third yoni stone is about this big. And they were developed so that the women in the harems could get themselves sexually very fit for their masters. And what you do is insert a yoni stone. A woman would insert a yoni stone into her vagina up to hit the cervix, and she keeps it there for an hour a day. And she works her way up to it. And then as her vaginal muscles get strong, do you know what starts to happen? Lubricant starts to be released. I was talking to a 55-year-old woman recently, and she said, I can't believe what's happening to me after I've been wearing the yoni stones. What is yoni? What does yoni mean? It is a European word for vagina. So that's the yoni stones. They're made out of jade. They will be over $100 to buy the set. And they use jade because it is very dense. Because as you can imagine, it has to be a very dense stone because we can't have any holes or crevices for little nasties to grow in there. So it's usually, and once a woman's vaginal muscles get strong, then she can go to the smaller one. And then she can go to the smaller one again. Now, here are some of the testimonies I'm getting from women. One woman told me that she always had to get up once or twice in the night to urinate. She doesn't get up anymore. They're also called kidney stones. They actually strengthen the walls around the urethra. Another lady told me that her lower back pain has gone since she's wearing the yoni stones. You see, we have a pelvic girdle, and it starts at our belly button. It goes way down and under and finishes on our lower spine. And in many people from the age of about 60 lose their pelvic girdle strength. And what the yoni stone does, sorry men, you can't use it, women can. What the yoni stone does, it helps a woman to regain strength. So her colon prospers, her kidneys, her bladder prospers, and her vaginal prospers, and the lubricant once again returns. Isn't that a wonderful thing? The simple yoni stone. So that's how a woman can once again regain her sexual health. What about men? they can apply the Anna's Wild Yam Cream. One man said to me, excuse the French, he said, "This cream just puts lead in my pencil." I'm shocked at how many couples, mid-late 50s, are not having sex anymore. That's incredible. And what it can be is because of what's happening with the man and what's happening with the woman. So it's not only important for the enjoyment of sexual health, but how many people, you ask any nurse that works in aged care, and how many in their 70s lose control of their bladder, how many women have prolapse of their uterus, their vagina, and how many are incontinent via their colon. And if pelvic strength was returned and maintained, those things wouldn't happen. Now, have you ever seen a little toddler pick something up? I'll show you how they pick it up. They put their legs wide apart and they go like that. That's how they pick things up. What do they lift with? When we lift with like this, we are immediately weakening our spine. And you know what that squat I just showed you does? Strengthens the pelvic floor. Can't squat? I understand. Put your back against the wall. Start squatting like that. But squatting is very, very important for this pelvic floor strength. So sitting doesn't strengthen it. Squatting, remember squatty potty? That strengthens it. Yoni stones, isn't that incredible? Some of these old ways are coming back. So for a woman, depression, and for a man, depression. Because what Anna's Wild Yam Cream does, it boosts progesterone, which is the happy hormone. What Anna's Wild Yam Cream does is because it gets the progesterone up and the estrogen down, there's no more estrogen to feed the endometriosis. So the endometriosis stops growing, and at the same time, the woman applies a castor oil compress to her abdomen. Do you know, castor oil penetrates very, very deep, and it breaks up lumps, bumps, congestions, adhesions. It will even break up a bone spur, so endometriosis is really easy for it to break up. It'll break up fibroids. It'll break up cysts on the ovaries. And I have seen many women not have to have surgery. They've taken the Anna's Wild Yam Cream, applied the Anna's Wild Yam Cream. I have to be careful because one man rang me up one day with prostate cancer. He said, "I've been taking the cream every day, eating it." So I must change my words. Apply. Apply the cream. Apply the castor oil compress, and little by little that compress breaks down the fibroids, breaks down the cysts on the ovaries, and what the yam cream does is it gets the estrogen down so it's not feeding those growths anymore. Breast cancer, castor oil compresses to the breast, and take the Anna's Wild Yam Cream because the high estrogen is feeding those breast tumours. I have seen women conquer breast cancer. Isn't that good news? So I have seen many women regain their sexual health, regain their lives by going on the Anna's Wild Yam Cream. I've had many men come to me and say, "Thank you for giving me my wife back." I have had mothers come to me and say, "Thank you for giving me my daughter back. When she turned 13, she grew horns. After a month on the Annas, the horns went down." What about a man? We had a man with prostate cancer. He was having a 3-monthly injection to try and get his testosterone levels down. He'd developed breasts and he was getting hot flushes. He was 65. So he made a decision to implement the 8 laws of health. The 8 laws of health are, again, the true remedies. They're the foundation. He stopped his coffee, stopped his refined sugar, started to go to bed earlier, started to exercise. He was a vegetarian, but he started to drop the carbohydrates and have more legumes, nuts, seeds, vegetables. and he applied the Anna's Wild Yam Cream. Now men, because men are not cyclic, they apply it once a day and they don't have a break. There's a book called Hormone Heresy by Cheryl Selman. She's an American woman. She explains it like this. She said, men are like the sun. They rise every morning, they conquer the day and go down at night. Same every day. Women are like the moon. Sometimes they're full, sometimes they're half, sometimes they're a slither. So men, once a day. Now this man, he applied the yam cream and he changed his lifestyle, stopped the sugars, stopped the caffeines, started to exercise. His wife emailed me 10 months later. He'd also decided not to have the hormone injection anymore. 10 months later, she said, the breasts have gone down, the flushes have stopped, and his testosterone levels are the best they've been for years. Wow. That's on the 8 laws of health and applying the Anna's Wild Yam Cream. That's what I love about the cream. It just works with the body. And isn't that the method of healing that God wants us to do? Do you know, when I worked in the operating theatre, I was the instrument nurse. I knew all the instruments. And in surgery, if a doctor or the nurse had forgotten something, they'd look at me and they'd say, McGill's forceps. I would immediately go. I'd memorised all the instruments, exactly where they are. I had to have them out and in the doctor's hand in minutes in the middle of surgery. The instrument nurse. I'm the instrument nurse now. And what I am doing now is I'm using God's instruments. Working in operating theatre, I realised surgery is brutal. Especially when I assisted for a total hip replacement and saw the surgeon with this mallet whamming the whole body. A man came to me and he said, I'm about to have a total hip replacement. Can you do anything? I said, no, have the total hip replacement. At least you'll be able to walk. But if you'd come and see me 2 years ago, maybe I could have helped prevent that. You see that? Surgery's come a long way. And if I broke my arm, I'd be in there. Mind you, if it looked in place, I think comfrey would work on it. But one of our workers, a tree fell on his arm and his bones were like that, you know. Definitely he had to have a bit of surgery for that. But you know, what is it? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And we can prevent much suffering in our lives by implementing the simple laws of health and the simple things of nature. God gave us the Mexican wild yam with its plant chemical diosgenin, and little by little it can bring the balance back. It's an Australian cream, but I've got some good news. We have brought some with us if you are interested. And there's my husband there. Put your hand up, husband. I've got a very good husband. So thank you for your attention this afternoon. Tomorrow, we've got some very exciting subjects tomorrow. The first lecture at 11 o'clock is the acid-alkaline balance in the body. And in the afternoon, we have the fantastic fats. So please bow your heads as we close. Father in heaven, we thank you so much again. We will praise you, for we are fearfully and wonderfully made. Thank you so much, Father, for giving us the information on how to look after this body, the simple treatments that you have given us to work with our body to bring about a healing condition. Thank you so much, Father, for the love, for the sacrifice, for the information, for the knowledge, and also, Father, for the ability and power to do it. So I pray, Father, that you will hear our prayer, for I pray it in the name of Jesus. Amen.